Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Voice Out. Adversity is a preparation for greatness, and in such times, faith always stands out. Welcome back to the second season of Voice Out Speak Up to Reach Out. I am Bonita Fernandes, the founder of Being Beautiful, and Voice Out is a platform which I've initiated so you can express to inspire. The fourth color of the rainbow is green, and it stands for faith. Well, now it is time for me to introduce my fourth speaker of this season, Ancella Wilson. She is originally from Cape Town. By profession, she teaches students in the early years. She's going to also cover topics about bipolar depression, adversity, chronic disease, and ileostomy. So, Ancella, welcome to Voice Out.
Thank you, Bonita.
Ancilla, let me tell you a short story about how I know Ancilla or how I met her. Well, I was on a holiday during my Eid vacation, and that's where I bumped into Ancilla with her two beautiful dogs that she has. Well, people who know me also know that I am not very fond of pets, but somehow I got connected to Ancilla while my stay at one of the resorts here in Oman, and that is when we connected. We spoke about the universe, we spoke about mental health, and that is how I realized, how important it is to have these kind of conversations. So that's how I know Ancilla a little bit. And yes, we also connected much later after that, where I approached her for Voice Out, asking her to be a part of the show. So thank you so much once again to agreeing and coming here and speaking, because it takes a lot of courage to come up and speak, to express, to inspire. So, Ancilla, why did you agree to come on this show? Why? I mean, what made you agree to Voice Out?
Well, thank you, Bonita. And I was pretty excited for this opportunity because, I would say that everyone has some issue. You know, if we think that no one has any problems or any hassles, even if we don't see them, I would disagree with that. But I feel like, there are a few challenges that I've had to overcome. The biggest ones being having Crohn's disease and an ileostomy. And I feel fortunate that I've managed to find a positive way to continue having an exciting life and not letting it get me down. And traveling's my passion. And so I managed to continue traveling and living a full life with an ileostomy. Fortunately, I haven't had Crohn's disease. The disease has not been active for more than 20 years, which is really fortunate, and I'm very grateful. And so the thing is, I feel like I have a very strong pull towards sharing my story with other ileostomists or people that may be chronically ill, to give them hope, to feel like, that this is how we might do it slightly differently, but we can. It's not like a death sentence when we become ill. And the same with, tonight I'm going to share a little bit about my understanding of bipolar disease. And and then the other, partially I wish to help people that have an ileostomy or Crohn's disease, but also many of my friends who don't have these issues, they feel quite inspired by me somehow. I don't really understand how, but yes, I would like to make all people feel like, give them the tips that I use, that I've, having gone through certain adversity that have helped me to go, to progress.
Oh, well, yeah, correct. Can you just throw some light on the disease that you've been talking about? Because I'm not really aware of what exactly it is. So what exactly that could be?
Yeah, I was 22 and it took a year to diagnose. It can be really a challenge. It's severe inflammation. It comes as, there are two diseases. There's ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. And they both are called inflammatory bowel, not to be confused with irritable bowel, which is also very unpleasant, but not quite the same. And so, yeah, it's a really difficult condition. It's an autoimmune illness, and it's a difficult condition to diagnose. It also takes on different forms. So one day you can, and the biggest symptom you'll have with Crohn's disease is diarrhea. So the first time I had diarrhea, and of course not knowing what it was for 3 months. I also became extremely thin. So you in effect, you become malnourished and you have no energy. I could sleep all day, all night, and I would wake up exhausted. And so, yeah, that was really quite hard because I became frustrated with people around me because I didn't have energy, you know, and it was really hard. And then, of course, sometimes because you get inflammation, you get scarring in the bowel somewhere, and then you get slight blockages and you get cramping and pain. So it's very debilitating. I mean, also, like, if you can imagine, you'd put a spoonful of food in your mouth and you have to run to the toilet immediately. You know, it's really horrendous. And then what happened as well was how I landed up getting the ileostomy was I had an abscess drained, which sounds simple enough, really, a perianal abscess. But then what happened is they actually cut the sphincter muscle. So if you can imagine, I have diarrhea when the disease is active, but now I have a sphincter muscle that actually can't close. So you don't need to imagine too much, but it was pretty disastrous and very unpleasant. And then randomly I went to the UK, and that's actually where they tried to do a sphincter repair. So in effect, they were trying to actually fix my bottom and that I would carry on. But to do that, to do surgery down below, they needed to give me the loop ileostomy, which is like a temporary ileostomy an ileostomy is when they pull your bowel through your belly. Oh, I meant to bring a bag to show you. Sorry, I forgot. And so it's your intestine that pushes through on your belly, and then your feces come out there, and you have like a plastic bag that sticks on you. Okay. And this is where it goes. So, and it sounds pretty horrendous. And the interesting thing was, and like the synchronicity of my life, which I think is an amazing theme, is that originally when I had the first operation for the abscess being drained, there was an amazing nurse who actually showed me all about ileostomies. And she wasn't saying I was going to have it, but perhaps, because with Crohn's disease being an autoimmune illness, you have the high potential of not healing, which is horrendous. I mean, you know, you have gaping holes like your surgery, and then they might not heal ever, you know, or take a very, very long time. So that's quite harsh to, you know, but luckily she had talked to me all about ileostomies, and she was amazing. She had shown me photos of people getting married and they've got ileostomies or doing adventure. And so that was pretty cool. That was that, you know. And then I went to the UK and I had my other surgery, and the surgeon just said to me, yeah, and you'll need a stoma. And I was like, what? You know, and I got a real fright. But the thing was that because they had spoken to me about it before, it was easier to accept. It was hard to take it on in the UK when my sister lived there, but I was kind of alone. You know, my mum was still in South Africa. And I had friends, and I met friends in hospital and things like that. And you know, we've all helped each other. You know, I've helped a friend's husband who was in the hospital next door, because I think, and that's, I have that strong sense of wanting to help. And people have helped me too, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then sorry, I'll let you ask me a question.
No, that's fine. Well, it's actually sounds quite painful as well. Until you didn't tell me about this disease, I don't think I heard it, or I don't think the viewers also must have heard it. Well, when I'm going to upload this episode on YouTube, I'm sure people are going to ask me this question, because when I was preparing your poster, so the girl who actually prepared it also happened to, you know, question me about it, which even I didn't have an answer to, which is why I asked you what is it exactly in detail. And I thought it is better to ask you on the show than rather to ask you off record. So at least everybody knows what it is. And it is really, you know, it takes a lot of courage to speak about something when you go through it personally, especially mental illness as well. So my next question to you is, well, you're aware about my being beautiful, and you know what being beautiful is all about. So what is your definition of beautiful, or what is the most beautiful thing in your life?
Well, on this, just literally being beautiful, I would talk about it's how something looks and if it looks attractive and appealing. But for me, what is personally will be beautiful. Obviously, I can appreciate something aesthetically attractive, but it would be kind people. And that's something my friend drew my attention to, a friend colleague drew my attention to the movie Wonder Boy, where the teacher says, you have a choice to be kind or right. And this has reinforced my own belief, and that's another thing that I, my empathy and my understanding of mental illness because of my father being bipolar and having lots of experience with that. Sometimes in my work, or I may find people that are frustrating, and I always remind myself, did I want to be right and throw them over the edge? Or did I want to be kind, and go, yeah, that's right. I can see that. Is it always important to be right? Sometimes you're the braver person by being kind. I may, and anyway, what is my right? There's different versions of right. What I think is right may not be right for someone else, so, but yeah, so what beauty for me is kindness. When I see people being kind and helpful, and then I find, like with the law of attraction, that, and this is one of the ways I've coped with my issues, is I find, I've stood strong in my views. Sometimes I feel like I'm a softie or whatever, but actually then at the end of the day, people come around and go, wow, yeah, or I find support later. And this is what I want to encourage people, is to be true to yourself. And like this, I'm wearing the green color from the rainbow, and for faith today. And it's not necessarily specifically faith in something, but except for faith in yourself, be true to yourself. Yeah. I found that as I've grown older and older and older, is that, having faith in myself, and, and like interesting, like a small little story is, I'd have a friend and let's say we'd go somewhere and I wouldn't be feeling comfortable, and it's not my favorite thing to do. Like, let's say going to a bar, I might enjoy a drink, but I'm not that keen on a bar, and I might feel uncomfortable. And then, and I feel bad about myself. And then later on, I discover that the silly behavior that other people are doing, my friend didn't respect. And then I felt, well, actually, I'm glad I didn't lower my standards. I don't want to be judgmental, but I'm glad I didn't start behaving like the other people just to fit in. True. I'm glad I was like, well, that's not really my thing. I like to go on nature walks with my dogs in the wadi. I also fell in love with triathlon about 20 years ago in New Zealand. And, these are the things that have helped me. I mean, and I can be really proud of having done triathlons. I mean, some of the organizers, they'd go, oh no, you here again, because I'm so slow. But, at the end of the day, I connected with a lot of amazing athletes, people that are Ironmen. And sometimes I even was running with them in a race, like a small race, they were unfit or had an injury, and we're jogging together, and that's really cool. And it just kind of gave me hope that it's okay to be, I'm doing it, I'm participating. So often people are always trying to be the best, and they have to be really good, so this is, I think, possibly it's annoying when I'm there and I'm really slow, but at the end of the day, I'm doing it. And really, I can say with an open heart that I was part of the triathlon crowd. I am part of the triathlon crowd, and I've lived it, and that's the thing, is that everybody is in the same experience. Everyone has to go that distance. I mean, one of the guys who's like really amazing, he said to me, you just got to go faster because then the pain is less. And of course, yeah, that would be me dreaming, like running or whatever. And, but we all doing it. We all go through the same. We all have the same heat. We all have the same distance. You know, some people have better bodies though, you know, they can do it easier. But yeah, you know, so that was really nice to share that.
I agree. I completely agree with you. I resonate with you completely because I think the only person that you need to work on in any aspect of your life is yourself. If you have to bring any change in your life or in anything for that matter, be it your work, be it your personal life, your finances, anything, you have to begin with yourself. You cannot expect the opposite person or the opposite situation, or even for that matter, the company that you're working for to bring that change. If you want to bring the change, then you be the change. And I always encourage people, I always advise people, you know, that if there is anything that you need to work on is yourself. If you start working on yourself, everything else around you just falls in place automatically. You don't have to put in a lot of energy, you don't have to put in a lot of hard work on the rest of the things apart from yourself. So which is when you told me that you know, the only faith that you need to have is obviously for me it is God and yourself. It is very important, and a lot of people need to know this because we focus on a lot of materialistic things. We focus on the outer world. We seek validation which is not within us, and I think that is completely wrong. Well, it took me 35 years of my life to understand that, which is why I'm also raising awareness, also creating these platforms where it is, you know, it can reach out to common people. It can, as many as people I can inspire. And even if I think I inspire one person, it is obviously going to be a win situation for me. So, like, you know, like you said, I think that is one of the reasons we also connected, you know, when we met, though our meeting was very short. I think that is one of the topics which you spoke about, and I was like, okay, now she's talking. Let's connect on, you know, the universe. And one thing which is always going to stay with me about you is that people who you know, live, who have gone through something like, for that matter, depression or any kind of mental health issues, they live their lives deeply. They can understand, they can connect to people, they can connect to the universe deeply. And I think that is me and that is you as well, because we have gone through a particular phase in our life, which is why we connect to a lot of things deeply. It's not that everybody has to go through it. People have normal lives. People just they live their lives without any issues. I mean, good for them. But people who have issues like us and who come out of it very bravely, we live and we connect on a very, very deeper level. I think not many people understand that, which is absolutely fine. I think people who understand that, like you, and I was so glad that I connected with you. And I was really happy actually when you agreed to even come on the show and voice out your story, which is quite personal and quite inspiring. Because, like I said, and I'll keep saying that, it takes a lot of courage to, you know, speak up. So,
Yeah.
since today's episode is about adversity, what are the adversities you feel that you have overcome?
Right, let's see. So first of all, I would say the Crohn's disease, that was, excuse me, that was really hard, as I explained before. And then having the surgery, that was really intense. I landed up I had the small surgery in South Africa, and then it was about 3 years in the UK where I had surgery. I had two large operations. First, the one that the attempted sphincter repair, and then a year later, another one. And those surgeries, they cut from above my belly button down to my groin, you know, like a huge cut to get into my abdominal area. And then when they were finished, you know, it was all stapled together. And I mean, you cannot imagine how much you use your abs, like when you cough, when you sneeze, and when you're allergic to morphine and you vomit. You know, these are horrible things. But yeah, so, and then of course, as I say, you know, having had Crohn's disease, which in theory you don't get rid of, but luckily, touch wood, and hopefully living a healthy lifestyle. So having had Crohn's disease, I believe has helped me to live in a healthier way. So I also my personal belief is that these adversities actually teach us, they bring awareness to us. So, and we learn things through them. I mean, if I hadn't have been ill, I may have been living my life slightly differently. I do still allow too much stress in my life, but I've learned that I've seen how stress can influence. I've seen how coffee is not good for me, because when I used to have it, it used to give me diarrhea straight away. I still like coffee though, mind you. And the same with alcohol. Alcohol caused diarrhea. So you kind of become very clear. And the interesting thing with the ileostomy now is because it's a drainable bag. So it's a bag that sits on my stomach and I have to open it. And every time I go to the toilet, like I urinate, so that could be 10, 15 times a day, I empty this bag because the water is not taken out. I don't have the colon where your water is taken out of your food. So it is liquidy. It's like a milkshake and it comes out and I need to empty it. Sorry about this if it's too graphic, but it's not really that serious. It's just like, but anyway, the point is when I have to empty it, I have to watch what I'm doing and I get to see how the food, what I've eaten, how it's processed. You know, for example, if it's really stinky, it's like, whoa, that's not great food. Or if I get a lot of air and gases in my bag, then I'm like, whoa, that's not good. So I've become a lot more aware of the quality of food that I'm having and how it is, But more important than that, actually, is having the ileostomy has just given me, in fact, I'm kind of overweight now. Like when I had Crohn's disease, I was thin, no energy, no power, nothing. Whereas now, not that I want to be overweight, but I'm strong, It took a long time, and that's something else I would like to recommend to people. Take those small steps. I learned that with triathlon as well. And I learned that, for a year after my surgery, the big surgery, I couldn't run for a bus for a whole year. Imagine that, just running for the bus. I could not do that because that's how the surgery had affected me and others who have it. It's big surgery. But, the thing is, and that's again, we all have choices about what we do. And I choose to be positive. I choose to do things that I want to do. I believe we can almost do anything we want to do. I believe we can, it might not be quick and magic, but one step at a time. And I've been very lucky. I've met amazing people around the world, a lot of people in the Emirates when I've been doing triathlon, that have said, yeah, I'll cycle with you. They don't say you're slow, but they come cycling with me. And so we socialize and we go on like that. And then it's amazing what I've been able to achieve because I guess the biggest race I've done to date was some years ago, and it was almost like a half Ironman distance, which took me 6.5 hours, which is quite incredible to think that, and that was with the ileostomy, I was doing this race. So I feel pretty proud that I did it. And I know that there are other people that do more amazing things with ileostomies. It's just that it means we can do it, we can do it. Oh, I'm sorry about my dog.
That's okay.
Okay, I'm back.
That's fine. You don't have to mute it. It's fine.
Okay. Sorry. Yes. So the surgery, the ileostomy. I mean, the ileostomy, even though it's a real benefit and really helpful, and I've been able to do everything. Like I've been hiking up mountains. Like I've done sort of several day, like a 7-day trip up in Kazakhstan at 3,000 meters. Hiking in New Zealand. You saw the photograph of me doing the Spartan race. Yes, I was a bit of a grandmother. I mean, that was a hard race, but I did it. You saw me under the barbed wire, swimming, scuba diving. I've done all of these things, which is really exciting, and so but then on the other hand, with an ileostomy, the part that we don't speak about is when we get woken up in the middle of the night and the bag is leaked. That's not very pleasant, you know, and you have to get up and go. And sometimes it's been written, as I have the bag longer and it works better, I've got a better appliance, it is not such a hassle, you know. But there were times when I would wake up and I'd have to change my bedding or go and sleep in another bed because my bed would be soiled. I would have to go and actually, you have to change the bag because you cannot be without it. You know, permanently your body will work. And so that has been, you know, that's been a challenge. But at the end of the day, I can see how much more I'm able to do. So instead of dwell on, oh, for me, you know, I decide to say, look, I can do all of this stuff. I'm not going to let it stop me. Popcorn wants to play. Come here. Come. No. He's so cheeky. There you go. Yeah, and then the other thing was what I learned, because all of these adversities, the other one was my father. He passed away unexpectedly at 49 of a heart attack. And this made me realize that, you know, that you want to make sure you're living your best life at the time. You know, don't try to think too much for tomorrow. Excuse me 1 minute. Sorry about that, everybody.
Fine, that's fine.
Yeah. So my father, he also, the bipolar part that you spoke about, he had bipolar, and this made things a bit difficult. I mean, I was really sad when he passed at 49 and I was 20. So I didn't have that father figure for all those adult years. And also, like you said, and something I had said to you, that I recognize that people that have had mental health issues or have mental health issues, it's like they go to hell and back every day, sometimes to survive. Because on the one hand, I'm not saying that, oh, if you have a mental health issue, and I'm not a mental health expert, I'm only speaking from my experience of my dad with bipolar, colleagues with bipolar, my flatmate, you know, different people that I've met and what I've experienced. So I have a lot of respect for people with mental health. On the other hand, if you're living with them, if you, like I'm the daughter or the wife, it is hard, it is a challenge. So the person who's living with them needs to look after themselves because it is a challenge. But at the same time, like I'm saying, I have a lot of respect for the people with mental health disease because it is hard sometimes for them, and it's not that they can't really control it. I mean, there is some degree of making an effort, either if you take medication to do that or to, you know, there is some, but it's not something that you can control with willpower. You know, it's like a chemical reaction in the brain. And so you can't say, oh, just sort yourself out if you're depressed. I mean, you know, I saw my father depressed for months and then he couldn't get out of bed and do things. Or when he was hyperactive, and those were periods of hyperactivity where he would be argumentative with us and my friends. I was a teenager and my friends thought it was all very funny, but I did not. I was an adolescent, you know, so, and they didn't understand what my dad was saying was bothering me, but they'd think, oh, he's so funny, you know. Yeah. And like his adrenaline would pump so much, and he would just be like going, oh, you want to argue with me, you want to argue. And my father was incredibly kind. So there's no way that he really wanted to make me feel miserable, you know, but we often used to argue and clash. And yeah, and I think that was difficult, but at the same time, I really love him, and I love the person he is or is. I believe his spirit is still alive, and what I learned from him, you know. And that's the other thing is, we I say to people to be aware that you never know who's watching you and learning from you, you know. So yeah, and that's, so keep your faith of what's important to you and your values. Don't feel like you need to follow in, you know, we've got so much social media around and like brainwashing. Don't feel like that. Be true to you, you know, live your life fully. And then the right people find us. I mean, that's the thing, you know, the right people will find us, whoever we are.
Very rightly said. I think I also believe in that because we focus, like I said, we focus on the outer part so much that we forget focusing on ourselves. All we need to do is work on ourselves, and yes, the right people are going to find us. And about being kind to people, I think that just comes from within. I have met people who are not so kind as well, and I've met people who are extremely kind. So, yes, we cannot expect kindness from everyone, but I think you really don't know what the opposite person is going through. You really don't know.
Yeah.
Know what maybe there could be anything which could trigger that person, and you you might think that the issue is you, but wherein the issue is them, and they just project it on you. Like whenever someone is angry, or if someone is yelling at you, or somebody is, especially if somebody hurts you, this is what I've understood, that when someone is hurting you, it's because they themselves are hurting. Okay, that is why they are projecting it on you. So you should not take things personally. Stop taking things personally. uh, and if you know for the fact that you have not done anything wrong, okay, you have to just be fine about it. But yes, if you have done something wrong and that is why the opposite person is doing whatever they are doing, then you apologize. Okay, you do not become small in apologizing. You do not uh, lose any part of your body or any part of yourself when you apologize. But yes, at the same time, you need to also know how to draw boundaries. Respect yourself, because when you start respecting yourself, that is when people are going to respect you. And also, you never know who you're inspiring. Like my previous speaker, Vilma, she has well said that you know you keep doing your work, you keep living your life. You don't have to live your life to inspire somebody, but you live your life in such a way that automatically people are going to get inspired. And I feel extremely joyful, extremely happy when somebody comes and tells me that thank you for inspiring me, or thank you for pushing me to do this, or thank you for putting this is what I learned from you. I am extremely happy. I mean, I won't boast about it, but yes, I get really happy and I have a smile throughout my face. I mean, throughout the day, that okay, at least I'm making a difference somewhere. Because see, the world right now needs a lot of kindness. It needs a lot of healing with whatever is going around the world, with the COVID, with the things what are going on in Afghanistan as well. We need so much of love to be given, and I think love is something which can heal anything. Love is not at all complicated. I think we as humans just like to blame on something, and we blame love. We say, no, love is all screwed up, or love is this, love is that. I think love is simple, and we as humans just try and we try and screw it up so badly that we start blaming that thing. I mean, God has created love. How can it be complicated? It is that simple. So I think people need to really understand the concept and think uh, before blaming anything, or be also start being kind to people, because you really don't know. Like you said, your father. Similarly, I have so many people in my life who I really don't know sometimes what they are going through. So either I am silent, or I don't react at that time. It's because you don't know what can trigger that person. You don't know what would that one sentence you will say which can hurt that person. You're just saying it for the sake of saying it, but you don't know how the opposite person is going to take. So the best thing is, just be kind to people. That is, and people do remember that when you're kind to them. Now, since we were talking about your father who was diagnosed with bipolar, what are the challenges that you faced when you were living with him? Like, can you share like at least one or two of challenges? Because I personally don't know any, but in fact, I thought at one point of time that I was bipolar, because I had mood swings. I could not eat. I used to not meet people, and I was a mess. You know, I was a complete mess, and I just could not understand what is happening with my body. But when I started seeking therapy, when I started seeing a doctor, is when I started understanding that no, I'm not bipolar. Because all this while we feel Google is, you know, our doctor. We reach out to Google, we read things on Google with basic symptoms. Sometimes, you know, you also feel that you have cancer. So something like this, I think we should stop doing that. We should take the right, seek the right therapy, seek the right medicine, and stop treating Google as our doctor. So can you please throw some light on what are the challenges that you faced with, you also told me that you were living with somebody in, I don't know, I'm sorry, I forgot the country, who was suicidal, and I think that person actually hung himself on the fan. So that is what also, you know, can you just throw some light on that, please?
Yeah, so I've had, besides other people, three really, obviously my father, who, and I feel that his illness was well managed by my mum. She, I mean, some people will disagree about medication or whatever, but I think my father was able to have a fairly good life because he responded to my mum. My mum played a really, I mean, it was a real challenge for her at times because, as I say, when he was hyperactive, he couldn't relax. He couldn't read a book. He had so much energy. He said we were arguing with him and we wanted to pick a fight. And then he would just go around and break things, and because he was trying to fix them, but the adrenaline was pumping so much. So that was a really hard time, you know, because we all have our other lives, our work, our school, whatever. And then if he's then arguing, it's hard. And then the depressed side was also hard because you know, you feel real pain for this person that's special to you, and they don't want to get out of bed. They just want to sleep and sleep and sleep, and that's really sad, you know, because you know that well, what is that? That's not life. That's not living. So yes, I had my father, and I'll see if anything else comes to me. But then I had a colleague, and again, you know, that's where I realized I got to understand it more, because I could see how she suffered. And, you know, sometimes, like, because often from people that I knew, that the mornings are harder with depression if they're in the depressed state. And I think you're right. I think a lot of people, you know, some people think I might be bipolar because I have like a very large emotional range, and sometimes maybe I'm a bit reactive, or I can get very excited and passionate about things, or I can feel a bit low and not quite insecure, but just feel a bit down. But actually, and this is quite important before I carry on, no, you asked me about my escape plan, so let me do that in the next question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this other person who was my colleague, you know, so I could see how she suffered, and at the same time, she was extremely helpful. She was extremely kind, and she would do anything for me, you know, like, so I think what I found was, I'm not saying that everyone is kind, has suffered, but often I found, you know, and I'm very aware of people not showing you what's going on, you know, that everyone has an issue, something that's happened, they've whatever, but often it's been like someone who's really kind and thoughtful. They've been through some adverse experiences, you know, and that has helped them, and that is why they are caring. And I mean, let's face it, you know, the things that I've gone through, like the ileostomy and the Crohn's disease, that's made me appreciate life, you know, like some people, and because it's like yucky, Crohn's disease, you know, it's poo, let's face it, you know, it's yucky, accidents, blah, blah, blah. You know, at the end of the day, you realize what's important, you know. And so when I'm a school teacher and one of the kids vomits on me, which is gross, or otherwise they wet their pants or whatever, I'm not going to make them feel, I mean, no one should make them feel ashamed, but I'm certainly going to make them feel comforted because of what I've been through, you know.
Yeah.
And I think so, and it's the same with bipolar. So this colleague of mine was just an amazing lady, is an amazing lady. And then the other person was my flatmate. And unfortunately, yes, he was the one that did take his own life. He had a very difficult challenge. He actually had become a psychiatric nurse. So he knew he was, and that's the other thing. I think often people with mental health issues, actually, I do know another person who I haven't really thought much about, but I know this person who is someone to admire. They are often very, very smart. And this is why they snap, or there is that snap, because they are incredibly smart. And so my flatmate was a psychiatric nurse. He knew everything there was about psychiatry. Unfortunately, he had obsessive compulsive disorder. Well, it was diagnosed as that, and bipolar. So the drugs he needed to take did not work. They went against each other. And eventually his wife left him with the children. And that's when I became his flatmate. And it was really hard. He was really sad. And I think then that's when he took his own life in a car. He gassed himself in the car, which, you know, was very sad. I mean, when I was living there, he'd got some cuts on his arm. So I think he was shouting for help. And we did have nurses live in the house through the day. When I went to work, there were nurses that stayed there. But that was then very stressful for me, because I'd come home and they'd want to chat with me. And I mean, I'd be happy to chat with my flatmate, but I didn't feel like chatting with strangers at the end of a stressful day. So that was stress for me. But yeah, so that was very sad. Yeah. Oh, and so, yeah, so generally, I think my father was pretty lucky, because, well, lucky as in, you know, how can you say lucky, but that he responded to what my mom advised him. And my mom was very close with my dad in terms of going to the psychiatrist. And, you know, my mom would say, I think you might be, because the drugs actually take time to kick in. So if my dad was starting to get hyperactive, he couldn't just pop a pill and tomorrow he'd be neutral, you know. So it took time. So it was really good to have my mom that was there to support him. But then on the other hand, which is what I say, is like, you know, I think having bipolar doesn't mean it's my ticket out. And I think that for everybody, I mean, that's the same with me with the Crohn's disease, which hopefully is finished now, and the ileostomy. It's not like, oh, well, I can't do that, or no, I don't. You know, I think we talked about this before, is that we are responsible for our own lives. And in that way, I believe, you know, I mean, it's a harder way to live, but I think it's the only way to live, you know, being responsible for everything that happens in my life. And then that also works with my attitude, you know, like, how do I look at a situation? I have choices. We all have choices. And then, you know, like, and I recently, last weekend, I had a wee bit of a wobble because things were a little bit stressful. Teaching preschoolers online, and now we're going face to face, and it's all happening really fast, and it's like 40 degrees Celsius here. So I guess there's all a bit of stress, and my little body was going, probably not enough sleep, because I think that's my number one, you know, the escape plan. My number one go-to would be sleep. If I ever feel terrible, I'm like, just finish the day and go to bed and wake up tomorrow and have a fresh day. That's my number one go-to. But anyway, what was I going to say? Yeah, so I managed to contact a cognitive behavior therapist, CBT person. It was the first time I'd done that. And now I've forgotten what I was going to say about that. Anyway, never mind, it'll come to me. Sorry. I've gotten a bit away. Bonita.
In fact, I think you did mention to me in the morning as well when we spoke that, you know, you were seeking this. But yeah, at that time I told you that I'm also learning about NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, which is where I'm learning about the human mind, which is an absolutely amazing subject. And after, I mean, it's really funny, you know, I'm not somebody who will study, but yeah, I mean, this is so interesting. It taught me how to read somebody's body language, somebody's facial expressions, the vibe, the energy, and the mind, how the mind functions. We as a child, when we are growing up, we have certain beliefs in our head. Like, for example, our parents will tell us that, you have to be kind to everybody, be kind to this uncle or be kind to that auntie, or this relative, and they will be kind to you back. But actually that doesn't really happen. you know it really, I mean, that's a fact. I mean, I have seen it myself, and there are so many other beliefs which our parents put in us, and we grow up with that mentality, which stays with us for a very, very long time. And I think that is what NLP is teaching me. Since I've just started the course, it's like the third or fourth week right now. And it's very interesting because it helps me to understand the opposite person, why I don't react immediately now, why that person could have, or would be doing something like this. That is when I also realized that a person hurts you because that person, he or she is hurt by themselves. That is why they hurt you. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's what it is. Mental health is an interesting subject, and I'm actually loving what I'm doing right now, studying different topics and subjects and meeting different people, including you, which really made me happy. Now, talking about childhood, you, like you said, you lost your dad when you were at the age of 20. Now, that is an age where, you want to do so many things, and
Mhm.
you lost your father at that time. So I mean, I really don't know what to say or how would you be feeling. So I'm sure you would have that effect on your adulthood, or when you grew up with somebody with bipolar depression, and living with somebody like that, and seeing your mom take care of your dad. So what was that effect you had on your mental health? How did it affect you mentally? I'm sure it did. We already had this conversation, but yes, I would like you to share it here as
Yeah.
well.
Well, yeah, the thing is, my dad is, I mean, because I still believe in his spirit, such a good person, that I think, like we talk about nurture in psychology. So I think, there are, like, recently I was reading a book, and I think the cognitive behavior therapy does not look at the past. So that's quite interesting, and I quite support that, actually. But at the same time, I was reading recently about how, we are influenced by the past. And I think that those stress moments with my father where we would argue or something, those probably come back when, let's say, I'm in a similar situation with someone.
Someone.
It's easier for me to feel the same feeling without having a huge response from the other person. So, but because I'm aware of that now, and I realize I don't need to buy into all that, and but at the same time, I think, so the stresses and the experiences I've been through like that, and the sadness when my father was depressed, but at the same time, I think it's kind of balanced. I mean, my mom did an amazing job to support my sister and myself, so that, because also there was a lot of love in my family, and both of my parents my parents loved each other. I mean, that's a cute little romance where they met in Belgium. My mom was from Holland. My father was in the Navy from South Africa. They married. They wrote for 2.5 years letters.
Oh,
And then, so it's a very cute story. So there was a lot of big love there. And then it continued, right? So there was a lot of love in our family, not in a gushy kind of way, but, you know, my sister and I were brought up to be the best we could by both of our parents. We were supported. So yeah, we had a good childhood. It's not like we had everything. We weren't spoilt or anything, but there was love, there was support. Everyone, my parents, they worked hard, but they did the best for us, and they cared for us. And yeah, so I think, yeah, so that's it really. I can't say.
it's
Yeah, oh, yes, I will say one thing. I did find, though, is that I had met a lot of people with mental health issues later, as I was a teenager and a student, after being a teenager. And well, I had like my own mini sort of breakdown at 17, where I went to a clinic to be tested for bipolar, and they said, no, I didn't. And while I was there, I realized, you know what, I'm okay. This is not where I belong. Not that it's a bad place, but it was like, I didn't need that amount of care. You know, I'd had a little bit like, I needed to make a bottom line of where I was at that time and my depression. But as I understand, I think I wasn't the only one. I mean, this is kind of what happens with teenagers. So, but later on, I met a lot of people with mental health issues, and something I had to learn, which is something I need to remind myself now, and that's because I'm a gentle, caring person, gentle soul, caring person, that I do need to look after myself.
Yeah.
And not in a selfish way, just in the way where I put on my oxygen mask, like they say in the airplane, I put on my oxygen mask before I help others.
Yeah.
And I'm part of this Wellbeing Warriors Academy with Louise Thompson. And one of the things she says, which I really love, she says is that, you know, you drink from the saucer, you give from the saucer. So it's your teacup has got to be full and overflow, and then you give from that. And I have a really bad problem of actually giving when I've got nothing to give, and then things become ugly. So these are things that I'm learning. And yeah, like you were talking about and we spoke about, you know, I have gone to a lot of counseling, not like I'm a disaster or whatever, but just to help manage stress. And I enjoy having someone to talk to that's confidential. And I've been to a whole variety of different people from when I was about 18. And, you know, there was a lady in Dubai who did muscle testing, kinesiology, which was really interesting. I've been to so many people, and I don't see that as a problem or that there's a stigma attached to that. I think, you know, that gets me through the day. That helps me when I'm stressed.
Yeah, I think because people still don't look at therapy as you know, something which they require. Most of them are still living in denial. In fact, when I was seeking therapy myself, there was somebody who passed a comment saying that you know, therapy is only for rich people. Why are you even doing it? I mean, this is something which is not required. You just probably read some quotes on Google or watch some motivational videos on YouTube and you will be fine. I mean, I think I did that for the longest, and we all hit rock bottom at one point of time in our life, and that's when we need help. And I think people should seek help before it's too late. Otherwise, the suicide rates are always going to be high. Though now people are talking about mental health, people are getting aware that, you know, it is easy to reach out to a therapist, to a counselor, to a coach. If required, if you are reached at a stage where you need to take medicines, please do, because you know, I'm going to say this again. I said this in my last episode. It is very easy to die, but it is difficult to live and survive. This is something which is going to stay with me for the rest of my life. Like, I'm not saying people who commit suicide, it's easy, but yes, it is more, you know, it is not as easy as to live and survive. I think people should try that out rather than just committing suicide and ending their lives. I mean, you have gone, but think about what happens to the people behind you, your family, loved ones.
Yeah.
They get depressed, they fall in the same pit that you were in. So why would you do something like that to yourself? And God, if God has created you, He has created you for a purpose in life. You need to discover your purpose. You need to find out why you're there on this planet. Everybody, every one of us have a purpose, and I think uh, it's important for us to know why we are there. And when we discover that, that is when we realize our worth, and that is when we know that we are worthy of something on this planet. I tell this to everybody, and you know, I think it has helped a lot of them, at least that I know a couple of them right now. So yeah, seeking therapy is very important. What is your escape plan? I mean, whenever you, like you actually have already spoken about it, you said that you would go and sleep. I think most of us would like to do that. Even I, in fact, today I've been so overwhelmed. I've been going through, a lot of things over the past few weeks. So I just probably slept out the whole day, and I feel much better now. It's important to sometimes shut down your body, shut down your mind, and I mean, right? I mean, if I say that, switch off from social media, especially, be by yourself, maybe meditate, listen to some music. So what would you do if you have to escape from all of this?
So, yeah, so when you talked about escape plan, that would definitely, like, if I'm having a day where I felt I'd gotten out of bed the wrong way, then I would just be, I'd just say, like, path of least resistance. And the funny thing is that if you're extra tired, or let's say you have a little hangover and you're trying to teach young children, they know, and they are just horrible, and you just like, oh. So if I've ever had a situation where, I mean, I'm not a huge drinker anyway, but if I ever had a situation where I'm extra tired or something and I get to work and I'm just like, oh, then I just let it go, because I realize the kids are going to know. They know that I'm not feeling my best. So they're going to try and take advantage and, and press the buttons and that. And then I know that the best thing is to just let it go and keep things simple. And then, yeah, so I've been able to manage those situations. But so from Louise Thompson, she's the Wellbeing Warrior coach, and I've learned a lot of things with her. It's a program I can talk about another time or answer questions. For probably, I don't know, 5-6 years, I've been on part of her academy. And the one thing she always says, the only thing we have to do is breathe. And so, yeah, so I often think about that, like, so we have choices of everything, but the one thing we have to do is breathe. So, for example, if a situation is stressful, I could always go to the bathroom and just sit there and breathe a little bit. And there are long, slow breaths. Unfortunately, I haven't really quite started meditating, but it is something I want to do. What I use as a really strong survival technique is the EFT tapping with Nick Ortner and his family. And I've subscribed to the Insiders Club. It's a website where basically, I mean, if I
read about it. When you shared the information with me, I did read about what I mean, this is a different kind of meditation, but it's quite interesting. I didn't read the whole thing, but I did.
I find it extremely powerful. I mean, like, for example, tomorrow morning when I start school, I'll probably do the tapping, which will be for the instant energy boost, because I think I'm going to need that in the morning with my little kids, all coming. And it's sort of non-invasive. You sort of do your tapping at these different points, and you say,
yes.
And it's amazing. I can just see a real shift of my anxiety, because they normally say rate how you're feeling between 1 to 10. If you're stressful, 10, and if you're not, 1. And I rate it, and then I do the tapping for 5 minutes, and then the number's less always. And I find that really helpful when I'm going through any anxious times. I mean, they have been talking about how one should actually be doing it more regularly. Like, it should be daily practice. And it is kind of like meditation using the meridians as well, though. So it probably would be quite useful for me to do it daily. I just haven't. I mean, the other thing, so, there's a few things I do to have well-being, and it's basically the healthy balance, which most people will know. And yeah, so exercise, good food, water, rest, and exercise. I basically walk my dogs every day. Sometimes it feels like I'm taking them, or they take, it's like I'm taking them, because they have to come with me because I want to exercise, especially at the moment where it's hot and my dogs are getting older, so they're not that interested. And I'm the one that wants to exercise, which is really fun. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is. I think there are different types of meditation which I have. I'm working on something right now. There is also something which is the shower meditation. You know, when you're taking a shower, you have to release all the energy, all the bad thoughts that you have been going through the entire day. Just stand under the shower and let it, just let it go. You don't have to act on it. You don't have, there's, reaction is not required of everything that life throws you at. You just need to stand there, take your shower, let go and release of all the negative thoughts what has been coming to you. See, we need to, like COVID. COVID is not going anywhere anytime soon. But we have still learned how to deal with it. When it initially started last year, none of us knew. We panicked at very small events or anything like that. But today it is not like that. Most of them are vaccinated.
Mm.
Most of them know how to deal with it. So I think likewise is depression, mental health, or any kind of issues what you're having in your life. You just learn to live with it. You learn how to deal with uh, that situation because you have already gone through it before. And if you have not gone through it, you will learn from your experience. So there is no need to panic or set the fear in. Talking about fear, my favorite line is faith over fear. And I think I would, in fact, I had to, give a speech in one of the classes where I was learning, and I introduced myself as a faith survivor. And my teacher that time told me, or my instructor told me, I have not heard something like this. I think I have survived only due to my faith in God, and obviously my loved ones, my family who has always been around me, my friends who have always supported me. I think having faith in God, in yourself, and in the people who love you is very important. So, how important is faith for you?
Yeah, well, what was it? Let me have a look at my notes. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Oh, right, here we go. Found it. There's so many things to think about. Well, yeah, I think faith is very important. I mean, like faith in, first of all, faith in yourself, like in myself, that I am someone, and that I can do things, I can achieve things if I want to. There's maybe one or two things that I haven't quite got because, they might, but am I actually putting everything into to achieving those things? And are those things within my control? Because not everything is, So for example, if it's involving someone else, we can't make someone do what we want. They are, a being with their own mind. So, but otherwise, yeah, faith in yourself, myself, or faith in a higher power. I believe in the universe,
Yes.
and the goodness of people. I thought, I questioned myself with that, but I've actually had an amazing, I am having an amazing life. And not everyone is always good. There's things that make me mad and people that are not nice or whatever. But by always have faith in the goodness of people. And I think that definitely does attract the better side of people, because that long time ago, I thought I sort of came to this awareness that the same person doesn't react the same to every person. So just because, let's say, that person is nasty to someone else does not mean they're going to be nasty to me, because who knows why they're nasty in the first place anyway. But, so yeah. So I think, just having faith in the goodness of people, not in a naive way. Okay, I don't mean in a naive way, but believe that people can be good. I mean, I guess that's hard to do with the Taliban story in Afghanistan right now. That's a bit different.
That is, yes, true.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, I think, when I look at situations, I don't say that this is a bad person or a good person. I think the situation makes you what you are, whether it's a good situation or a bad situation. Nobody is born cruel. Nobody is born with evil thoughts in their mind or like a criminal. Like my next speaker is going to speak about crimes because he has dealt with a lot of criminals. So, like what I understood from him is that there are children as well who are criminals. So, how they reach to that state, because we are not born with a criminal mind. It is a situation what makes you what you are. So I don't term anything, anybody actually has a bad person or a good person, because we are nobody to label that. We are nobody to label it. Just I think sometimes the situation is such that which makes you do something even if you do not want to do that. And I think with time, some people realize and some people don't, which is okay. You live your life, have faith in God, have faith in yourself, and that's about it. So yes, I think we are come to an end to this lovely episode. Thank you so much, Ancilla, for joining me. So before we close, is there anybody who is present here who would like to ask anything to Ancilla? Any questions to her, to me, anything you want to say? You'll have to switch on your mic or camera and say it. Okay. So, Answer, before we shut for today, is there anything that you want to tell me or tell the audience? Anything, whatever is there in your heart and mind, and we end the episode for today.
Yeah, I think basically just give it a go. Whatever you want to do, as long as it's a good thing. I mean, have faith in yourself and try, and have faith in those little steps. Often I've had to, like, even when I was feeling down and when I was a teenager, I would feel like I was lying in the mud. But if I would lift my head up, that was a small step, and that was the step. And it's like now I want to start cycling. So it might be just putting my bicycle in my car, or it might just be taking my swimming clothes with me. Today I landed up only swimming 100 meters, but that was good. It felt nice. It felt good. Unfortunately, I'd had a nosebleed, and I just didn't think it was worth doing anymore. But yeah, so
fine. I hope you're fine now, though.
Yeah, no, I'm fine now. I just didn't feel comfortable. I felt like it wasn't nice, so I just left it. But yeah, so that's it. Yeah, have faith in yourself and take those small steps. You can do it. Thank you,
so much,
Bonita.
Angela. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Please do take care of yourself. Do not forget to wear your mask. Stay beautiful and take care. Good night. Have a lovely weekend.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.